Hey guys, good evening, good evening. Let me just set this up over here. I want to do a quick Periscope on building relationships because I'm doing a relationship series. So anyway, let me introduce myself. My name is Cheryl Howard. Let me get this, a lot of brightness over there, right? Too much brightness. That may be a little better. There we go. Thanks for joining in. This is going to be quick. I hope this is even loud enough. This is going to be quick. I am doing a series on building healthy relationships and on my Facebook Live account. So for those of you who want to connect with me, Cheryl Howard, your inspirational and empowerment strategist, you can go to facebook.com/Cheryl Howard. Get your life back. And I'm doing I do Facebook Live talk show on Thursdays, but between now and all of November, I'm going to be discussing ways to build a healthy relationship and communication, which is key if you want to have anything that's going to last. So I'm just home relaxing, and I did a YouTube segment, but I said, let me go on Periscope Live and Periscope and do a live one as well and see what's going on tonight out there in Periscope land. But I want to talk about 4 components or 4 key elements, to building a healthy relationship. And a lot of these things I took notes of in my own experience as a new single person, divorced mom. I've been single for a couple of years, so I'm not newly divorced, but as a single person who desired to be married again. Thanks for joining in. Who desired to be married again. And so I created my own list of things that really matter. And I'm not talking about things that you can be flexible about, but it's good to journal things that really matter to you as an individual, as a single person who's desiring to be married again, that I think they're very important. They're important for me, and I'm sure somebody out there will resonate with everything that I'm going to mention. There's only 4 things. I'm not going to be very long, but they're key to building, again, a healthy relationship. I want to talk about mindfulness, thoughtfulness, your standards and how they are reinforced, even during the whole meeting people in your singleness, and meaningful content. My notification turn off? I think they are. If not, I don't want to have... Okay. I think we're good now. Okay. Any kind of disruptions. So, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. I want to talk, mindfulness, thoughtfulness, standards, and meaningful content. And I'm going to break all of those down. And like I said, this came out of my own experience, meeting different men in my singleness, and being able to compare the experiences. I think is awesome. And I think you learn a lot of lessons because you get to weed out the nonsense and the ones that remind you of your standards. And I think that's so important because you'll meet some jokers out there. Clearly, there's no connection. There's nothing happening. And so when you meet the guys that you do vibe and you do connect with, even though they may not turn out to be anything, they constantly remind you of your standards and your values. And I'm not a person to settle, and I wouldn't want you to settle neither on your standards when it comes to finding and meeting that mate. So mindfulness, for those who don't know, is really being aware of what you do and how you say what you say and how it affects the other individual. You're mindful of how you impact other people, how you influence other people. You're aware of what you do and say presently in the moment. So you're being mindful before you even speak. You're trying to take thought. And I'm not saying we get it right all the time, but you practice good communication of, okay, if I say this, how is it going to affect the other person? How is it going to come across? I want to come together and get an understanding. So you're mindful of how it affects people. Also, too, if you know someone for a while, you're also mindful of the individual's triggers. Thanks for coming in this evening. We're talking about building healthy relationships this evening, actually. And just 4 points I want to discuss. So you're mindful of the person you know already, their triggers. So you're thinking about, I want to say this, but I don't want this to be offensive to the other individual. This is somebody you're thinking about building a life with. Hey, Gianna Rose. You're thinking about entertaining the thought of, I may want to build a relationship with this individual. So these things matter, especially if communication is high on your list. Communication is high on my list. I like to connect with a person emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. And if for some reason there's always a block there, Already, it doesn't take that long to figure out that it's just not going to work, and it's okay. It's all right. You don't have put high expectations when you just meet someone anyway. You're collecting data, and I believe in when you're dating. I believe in dating with a purpose. I'd rather start a courtship with someone, because after I become friends with you a little bit and we talk a little while, after a while I already know if we're going to proceed and continue to pursue each other, whatever. But courtship, you have two people with the same mentality that we are dating with a purpose. We want to meet our mate. So that is purposeful. That is courtship. Individuals who are seeking the same thing. You have the same intention. When you finish your thought, I need some advice with this guy I've been talking to. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me kind of go through this quick. So don't forget what you wanted to share with me. So mindfulness, accepting and acknowledging. I had to write my points down because my brain will go all over. Accepting and acknowledging other people's feelings, thoughts, and behaviors and actions and all of that. Paying attention to that individual, even their body language, even the nonverbal messages that they may be putting out there. This is being mindful. You are absolutely welcome. You're paying attention to someone else's values, what they're passionate about. So you already know when you're in a relationship, you can't be selfish or self-absorbed. You just can't be, because you're trying to connect with another human being. It only makes sense. Thoughtfulness is my next point. And thoughtfulness and mindfulness do go hand in hand. They're both going to tie in together. Under thoughtfulness, I put respect, being considerate of somebody else's feelings and thoughts. You're attentive to their needs, to their concerns. And you're responsive, meaning when they share something with you, you're giving a meaningful and a truthful response. You're not just giving vague responses out there, because that indicates to the individual that you're not really paying any attention to them, and you really don't care about what they're saying. Let me tell you, these are red flags for somebody out there to pay attention to, that you might not have paid attention to before. But to me, that's a red flag. If your responses are always short and vague, you don't have any comeback, we don't connect intellectually, guess what? You're not the one for me, because I am attracted to men who are confident and men who are intellectual, and we can actually carry on a conversation. And let me tell you, the more you have in common with the individual and the more compatible you are, then the more you have to talk about. So right there, if you meet somebody before you even get that far and you're not compatible in any of those areas, things that matter to you, they can't connect intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually, then you don't even have to take it any further. Don't lie to yourself. Don't have these grand delusions in your mind, because I know a lot of women can do that. Men can too. You have this imagination in your mind, but your reality is you don't really have that's going on in your relationship. So don't be delusional. I like what Maya Angelou says, if a person tell you who they are, believe them. But I like even more, if a person shows you, because actions speak louder than words, who they are, believe them. They're giving you who they are. Don't ignore it. I know we women, we nurturers, we cultivate, we build, but don't try to convert and build someone else to be something that they're not. You do yourself a favor, let me tell you, in the long run. So that's someone who's thoughtful. Even in text messaging, we live in a day of text messaging, and people get really deep into that. There are some situations where that's okay. You can text, you're getting to know each other, but also too, they don't ever pick up the phone to connect with you. That's another possible red flag. Like, wow, you don't think of me that much, or think of this relationship that much, the relationship or the friendship, whatever it is you're trying to connect, basically, to give me a phone call. And I'm old school, so I'm like, I appreciate more if you call me. This is getting deep now. Can we talk about this on the telephone? I just think it's important. We're missing that personal touch today. So, and truthful in your responses and taking thought. When you say stuff, I can hear. I'm not an analytical person, like I always say, by label, but I can be analytical. So I think about those things like, wow, I'm thinking about, well, he seems to want to text all the time and never want to call me. I don't like that. Anyway, so, and I'll say, you want to call me? We can talk. And if the person continues to say, no, I'm good, and then we're good for real. Like, that's it. We're not talking anymore. Because I can't, that's just a turn off for me. So that's the person who's thoughtful and mindful. So when you're thoughtful, all of that falls under being respectful of the other person. And it falls again under being mindful of someone else. Mindfulness, taking thought presently, what's going on, what's happening, what the other person is saying. If you're focused on lust all the time, if you're focused on the visualness, I like to make up words, and that's it, that's the basis of your communication, then that's not good neither. Then we definitely can't connect, because there's more to Cheryl than all of that. There's a lot more to me, and I'm all into the other person, what you're doing, how you're doing, what's your goal, what's your vision, all of that, what's your purpose, and seeing you operate in it. And I'm a major supporter, so I'm always supporting or somebody else's dreams. I'm already thinking about, wow, if this works out good, I can see how we can help each other. If you're not on the same, thinking the same thing, then there's not, we're not going to get anywhere with that. And my third point, I'm rushing through this because I just did a longer version of this on YouTube. I wanted to put something on my YouTube channel. Get Your Life Back Inspirational Life Coaching. Hi, thanks for joining, Kezia. Get Your Life Back Inspirational Life Coaching. So that you'll get a longer version of what I'm saying now. Now this is just a brief content. Don't hang up. Oh, you got to give me your name again because I want to answer your question. Standards reinforce. So the wonderful thing about when you're single and you're meeting different individuals, you can compare. Sometimes you meet those men or women. For those men who may see this broadcast, you'll meet that individual who reminds you of your standards. So your standards are reinforced. Like I said, the positive and the wonderful side about being single and meeting different people is that you get to meet different men, and you get to compare those who you're not that compatible with and you seem to clash with, to those that you're very connected with and you're compatible. Even if it doesn't turn out to be anything, they're a constant reminder of your standards, because you share the same values and the same standards for the most part. And they're like reflectors. They're like models and examples, like, oh yes, I cannot settle for anything less than this, because it's great, right? When you can vibe and connect with someone intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally, then it feels great. It's like you understand each other. It doesn't take a lot of work. You're not constantly clashing or find yourself explaining yourself over and over again. It's like you get each other. I understand you. I got you, boo. That type of experience. That's awesome. So you need those experiences. Let me tell you, because you don't want to get with look, folks that I meet that are like jokers, I put them in the joker box. Ding, you go in the joker box. I don't got time for nonsense. I'm a person, I don't like nonsense and foolishness and foolery. So I can already tell when you come in with stuff like that, if you're very vague in your responses, this is under thoughtfulness. And no, this is under meaningful content, is which I'm getting ready to go into now. Again, when you're communicating with someone and you're getting to know them and their responses is always vague, they don't have a lot to say, there's no meaningful content, because you're not compatible. You don't share the same likes and passions and interests. So then it's going to be boring. You're not going to share a lot. Similar cues is a huge plus. Similar, yes, absolutely. A major plus. So I need some meaningful content. Like I said, what attracts Cheryl to someone, I like into people men who are intellectual. We can have an intellectual conversation, meaning it's not every time you talk with them it have to be something deep, but I like someone who can go there with me when I'm ready to jump into the ocean and do deep diving and talking about some deep theoretical spiritual concepts or things going on in the world. I love it when a man can do that with me. We can joke and we can have fun, but also we can get into those deep conversations, because life have a lot of things happening, that is great to talk about. And then if you can never vibe with me spiritually, I had that experience, and this really turned me off. There was one particular man in particular that every time I would talk about something deep or try to get into his mind, same senses of humor, so huge, the same sense. Let me tell you something. And I love having someone with a great sense of humor and who's positive as well. But every time I would try to get into something deep, his comeback was, and his feedback was, I don't have any comment right now. I can't really comment. That turned me off. I was like, this ain't going to happen. I can't. Every time. So what I got from that and discerned from that is that spiritually wise, he wasn't there. He knew knowledge wise. I got to find out things about him spiritually, or things he believed in and different things. But he just wasn't really there for that. He just never wanted to get into that. That was a problem for me. I'm like, okay, this definitely not going to work. Don't make any sense. Take this. And he told me out his own mouth, I'm not ready for you yet. that spoke a lot of volume. He was distant, even though he wanted to talk with me and hang out with me all the time. But it's like, when it came to that, you know why? This is the real truth. He was not being obedient spiritually and committed fully to God. And he knew that I was. And he said to me, it's out of his own mouth, he said, Cheryl, I'm not ready for you right now. I knew what he meant. I'm sold out. I'm living a celibate life until marriage. He wasn't. Both Christians, but he wasn't practicing that, celibacy, abstinence until marriage. And I was. So there was some things I was not going to get into or even discuss. I wasn't even going to entertain it, because you're trying to be successfully single and you're trying to be obedient to God, sanctifying yourself, keeping yourself set apart. And I already knew that he wasn't there. He wasn't willing to go there at the time. So, I'm glad that he was respectful enough and honest enough to tell me that. This way we won't waste each other's time. So we're cool today. I'm cool with everybody I met, believe it or not. Some of us are Facebook friends. How you doing? What's going on? God bless you in your endeavors. Everything fine. We are mature individuals. No need to end in bad blood at all. So that was wonderful. Coming down. So that was the meaningful content part. So I think that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say. The standards reinforced. Now, who was that who said they wanted to ask me a question about something, a relationship question? He was on a different path. He sure was on a different path. And even after that, he ended up having a child out of wedlock, and he got married finally to the same woman, which is great. Thank God there's no condemnation when you're in Christ. He'll forgive you. You can repent, turn around, do all that great stuff. But that's not the order of things for me. I waited this long. I cannot self-sabotage my own growth and walk in God. I just can't do that. So what was that question? See, he had something to learn. He did. And I was saying earlier in my last broadcast was I heard Creflo Dollar, Pastor Creflo Dollar say this a long time ago, that important to leave a mark that cannot be erased. And he was talking about in the world, leaving a legacy. But even when you meet people, and I also heard a man say this, to leave people better when you come into a person's life, but you leave them better than they were before they met you. I like to try to do that. I just think that's a good practice. So if I can leave something positive, a lesson, awesome. People have deposited things in me that I remember to this day. Like, that is so awesome. And they showed it by example. I'll never forget. Stays in my mind. And I have people who come back to me and say, remember so-and-so. And, like I said, even if things don't work out, guess what? There's a level of respect there. There's no bad blood. We good. No problem. Let's just keep moving right along. We don't have time to play games. We're adults now. I didn't even do this in my 20s. Someone had asked you a question about their relationship. That's how I was waiting for the person to ask the question about the relationship and what it was. Can you come back? Are you still there? I want to know what the relationship question is. If anybody want to connect with me, again, you can go to my website at CherylYHoward.com. Also get the letter Y lifeback.com. I'm on Facebook at Cheryl Howard. Get your life back. I'm an empowerment and inspirational strategist. So I do relationships. I have coaching on relationships. I'm really a strategist because I like to give people strategies about how to do things. I am new from Canada. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining in. I'm glad you're new in my scope. I'm starting to get back more consistent now with the live broadcast. And I've been utilizing Facebook Live lately, or just doing videos. And I have a whole YouTube channel as well. Get Your Life Back, Inspirational Life Coaching. I'm just looking for a date with I love it, with a full set of teeth. You need somebody who can afford to get a new, even if they lost their teeth, they can afford to get some more teeth. Amen to that. I hear that. That's funny, with a full set of teeth. And I believe in dating with a purpose. They keep showing up. Are you serious? Wow. Well, I'm gathering you have your teeth. Because I was going to say, why you keep attracting people with no teeth? That's funny, right? Oh my goodness. I hear you. That was funny, Kezia. Oh my goodness. So you want somebody who got everything kind of working and still functioning, even if they have implants. It's so sad. I don't know. It's not easy to find. Oh my God. I said, let me just start doing a series on relationships and my own experiences. It's not easy. I'm like ready now to meet my future husband. And it's not easy, but I'm trying to weed out the nonsense and help somebody else weed out the nonsense. And let's not play games. Let's not entertain red flags, clear red flags that this is not going to work. Let's not lie to ourselves. Women do it all the time. I think a lot of times we get caught up in our imaginations and delusion of a relationship that really don't exist in your real life, like the person you are kind of entertaining right this moment. You have your idea, and I just made this up today because I was taking some notes down a broadcast, and I said, no, I'm gonna call this my relationship vision board. Let's hear about your dates. Are they respectful? You know what? I can say, even the things that didn't work out. Keys didn't know about some of the relationships. I met some individuals on social media, and they weren't bad guys. They weren't like, oh my God, these guys are terrible. They scary. Got to call the legal and get the law involved. Nothing like that. But we just wasn't compatible in some ways. And but like I said, I had wonderful lessons because I got to know more about me. You get to know more about yourself when you're dating. You're scary. Oh my God, I need to hear about yours. You get to know a lot more about yourself when you're dating and you're single again. And this is when you can make your list of your deal breakers. And then you have your list of things that you can be flexible with. But when it comes to things you are passionate about and they're so important to you that you cannot compromise on, as I mentioned in one of my scopes, if they're not godly, that's a deal breaker. There's no sense to even continue on into any kind of relationship building, because my relationship is going to be built on the biblical principles. So I had some interesting interactions with some men. So true. You learn a lot about yourself. You sure do learn a lot about yourself. Some are addicts, controlling, and needy. You have to know that. It's so important. I believe in walking in discernment. That's not a spiritual word. Discerning of spirits is a spiritual gifting that God can give you. But being discerning is something that we need to practice all the time. Learn how to go beyond what a person is telling you. Look at the other ways that they communicate with you non-verbally, body language. See, again, I kind of analyze things sometimes. So I look at the person while they're talking to me. I listen to how they say things. If there's a pattern, so I always say I'm not an analytical person by label, but I can be analytical at things I feel I should be analytical in. And one of them is paying attention. How do you weed out the addicts? The addicts. Disconnect from them. Delete. Sometimes you got to look at yourself and wonder, why are you attracting? If you see a pattern of attracting people who have whatever addictions you're talking about, then you have to be introspective and look within yourself and go, what is it in me that I'm attracting that type of individual? Because for me, I feel like I'm a confident individual. I'm discerning, and I look for things positive and negative, and I look for compatibility. And when I see something that's not altogether right, I'm not going to play games with myself. And I think sometimes we entertain things. And women, we do that because we're cultivators, we're nurturers. We like to build, like I said before, and sculpt. And sometimes we try to sculpt individuals and convert them to be something else that they're not, and play games. I should enter the convent. Don't enter the convent, girl. You can be in your own personal convent. So we have to be careful not to do that. And then when you see, if you already have an experience of meeting addicts, you already know what signs to look for because you have experience. So once you start seeing a red flag, say, oh, I know that individual. That person is pessimistic. That person is what we call a person that's very self-absorbed. Help me, Kezia. Very self-absorbed into themselves all the time. I'm looking for that word. Oh my gosh. It just left me. But anyway, you should know some of the signs already. Narcissist. Thank you. Narcissistic individual. So some things you already see. Don't play games when you see the signs in somebody new. Like, no. Especially if you see 1, 2, and 3. It's like, this ain't going to work. We're not going there, not aligned. Protect yourself. Yes, narcissist. Protect yourself. Look, you are a temple. You got to protect your mind, your spirit, your body, everything. You got to love yourself that much that you don't have any time to play games. I'd rather be extra cautious and careful and just weed out if any nonsense. There's things I already know that I don't like. Like I said, someone who's very vague in their responses. They're not intellectual in certain things that I'm intellectual in and all of that. It's distracting when they're cute. Yeah, that flesh, that but we can't get caught up in that because you got them cute ones who are very abusive. That's why there's more to relationship than appearance and love. That's great. Now, attraction means a lot to me. Although it's not necessarily a person's faith. You can be attracted to a person's persona, personality, the individuality, something about them you like, their character, their attributes. You can be attracted to that. But that's why I talk about, I just discussed emotional celibacy. When you don't allow yourself, and this is what I've tried to practice. Thank God it have saved me. Not getting too emotional attached to an individual when I'm getting to know them. That's a mistake that a lot of us made over the years. That's one of the powerful things of being celibate until marriage. You get to know a person on a deeper level. You get the vibe, you get to connect, you get to know their mindset. You have time for that. When you start having intimate sexual relationships with people, you become cloudy in your thinking. You can start confusing your love for lust, and it's not. And now you're all mixed up. So I don't like to get into emotional attachment too quickly. I like to get to know you. I'm glad that I'm more attracted. I was just saying earlier, I'm more attracted to someone on an intellectual level than I am with all of the external stuff. Because anybody can buy you flowers and candy and give you wonderful compliments and buy you jewelry. But if that's all we have, or we can't sit and have wonderful conversations for like hours or whatever, that's what's going to hold the relationship anyway. All that other stuff may dissipate. It may not last all the time. What is there besides that? Anybody can buy you things. The alcoholic never seems to allow the drink to leave their hand. I have learned that absolutely. The alcoholic never seems to allow the drink to leave their hand. That's right. That's an addiction, like an extension of them. Right. Absolutely. So, when I talk about mindful and thoughtfulness, put yourself in there. Be mindful of your patterns, your behavior, and what you attract. And then the more you know yourself better, then the more you're able to weed out like nonsense and foolishness. Love yourself so much that you don't have time to put up with all that stuff. Especially, look, I've been here a long time and in waiting. And I don't have time for it. Tamika Gross, hey girl, thank you for joining in. I'm about to wrap up my little thing about relationship. But I was going over, interesting, praise God. I was going over important key elements in a relationship. Hey, and I was talking about mindfulness, thoughtfulness, and having your standards reinforced when you are single and you are looking for that future mate that you're like, that, hoping to get married again. Things that matter. And I talked about things that matter to me, but I'm sure it resonates with other people, such as mindfulness, talking about being aware of how and what you say in the present and how they affect other people. Thank you so much. How they affect other people, accepting and acknowledging other people's feelings, thoughts, and actions, and paying attention to other people's values and content and passion and things that's very important to the individual. So I'm doing a series on relationships, which I'm going to be doing on my Facebook Live on Get Your Life Back, Cheryl Howard. Get Your Life Back on Facebook on Thursdays. This whole month of November is going to be about building healthy relationships. Thoughtfulness, being respectful, being considerate. Pay attention to how he treats the way. You got that right. Pay attention to how he treats everybody. That's a whole nother thing. What's his community? I talked about that in one of my YouTube. Knowing a person's community, meaning their friends and their family, and how they interact with them, and I pay attention to this. Like I said, I can be analytical at times. I pay attention to how other people respond to that individual and how he come across to them and how he responds to other people. That means a lot to me. There's a lot that I pay attention to. Like I said, we don't have time for games. I'm older now. I think I'm mid. I don't know if I'm considered middle age yet. I'm in my 40s. Anyway, we don't have time to play games. So, and then going into a person being thoughtful. I gave an example earlier of how, again, I was talking about comparing the experiences that I have. Someone wanted to know about the people that I've met in my singleness, and being able to compare the difference and the ones who remind you of your standards and they reinforce your standards. Thoughtfulness, for example, I talked about how one particular guy, he really liked me. I mean, he was in love with me. He told me that, and he used to always play with me, Cheryl, marry me, marry me, marry. I just wasn't attracted to him at the time, but he was a really good friend. We served in ministry together. But what I did like, and he reminded me of, that's the type of man I like. I remember one time coming home in the evening from the city. This is when I lived in New York. And he called me and said he's going to meet me at the train station because it was dark and everything. I think I left my car parked at the house and I took public transportation. And I said, you don't have to come and get me. It's okay. Because I didn't want to feel obligated. Oh, Lord, he's going to come get me the train. Then he might want to go out. Then I want to feel like I need to go out with him because he was whatever. He didn't take no for an answer. He's, Cheryl, I'm going to meet you at the train station. I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. But what I loved about it, it was very thoughtful. People who think about things that you don't have to ask them to do. They just automatically do it. I was low on money one day. I don't ask men that I met. Even though we were friends for years and he was real cool that way, ask them for money. But he's thoughtful. He see that I'm struggling, single mom now with my daughter. Sometimes the money just run out. And sometimes he would just slip me cash. And it would be an insult not to take it because then we'll be there arguing like, Cheryl, the Lord told me. I'm like, okay, here we go. All right, I'll take it. But that was thoughtful. Some people are with guys, they don't even think about it. They see your situation and they still won't try to even ask. And not that you have to take it, but just ask or something. Wow, not even money. It could be something else. I thought that was thoughtful. So things like that matter. Those are some of the things you should be looking for in a mate. If they're thoughtful of things that matter to you. Again, when you talked about being aware, they should be aware of your surroundings and how they treat other people. It's very important. Be aware of the guy who throws in his credit card without looking at the check. Ooh, wow. There's some doozies going on out there, huh? Yes. Without looking at the check. I like that. Be aware of the guy who looks at his credit card or doesn't. Something. I'll repeat that again because if he doesn't watch his own money, that's right. If he's not a good steward or he's not disciplined with his own money, he may be coming for you. Thanks for joining in. He won't take care of, thank you. Yes. So, okay, I got what you're saying. He won't take care of yours. Absolutely. We're grown folks now. We're not kids anymore. Those old school games, we need to learn how to do better. Even if you're not at the peak or 100% top credit, you're practicing good stewardship. You're practicing but remember, if we are marriage minded, again, you're being thoughtful and mindful that I need to be practicing how to be a good steward over the things I have now because I'm going to be a mate, especially for men. If you're going to be the head of the household, then you need to know how to manage your life on some level, how to manage your money, how to stretch your money and all that great stuff. Those are valuable things. They are very important in relationship. So I kind of covered again, having your standards reinforced when you do interact with the good guys who remind you of your standards. And I shared earlier how I thank God for the men in my life. I have spiritual brothers and spiritual male mentors. Some of them were my pastors. Some of them, the spiritual male friends I have, married and single. And he needs teeth. You and that teeth, right? He needs to have full set of teeth. They are constant reminders of the type of men I need, I want and I need. And I can go to them. If I come across some kind of behavior, and even though I'm not naive, so most of the time I'll get what somebody's doing, but I'll run it across my male friends or brothers and just to see what they have to say. And they always confirm it, or they'll let me know up front, Cheryl, he playing games, or Cheryl, he just want one thing. They'll just come, they remember when they weren't saved, and they remember that they are men. And they remember when they dated their wife. So they would share stuff with me. I'm like, wow, very interesting. You just confirmed something that I picked up. But it's so good to have that accountability. So important. I talked about that in another one of my videos, the accountability. And I have something coming up called Dating That Pleases God as well. I was going to do the Blab, but since Blab is not here anymore, I can't even use that. So I guess I'll go to Google Hangouts or Zoom or Periscope and talk about that. And the meaningful content I kind of discuss. When you have a lot in common, when there's a lot of compatibility, then you have more meaningful things to share and it's not boring. You can have the nice long 2-3 hour talks with an individual that's not based on lustful things, but it's based on meaningful content. So important. So that's it. I hope that was helpful to somebody. I'm so thankful for those of you who did join in. Thanks for the hearts, Tamika. Thanks for coming in, Kezia. And I think it said Flossie. It's all about how someone makes you feel, how they make you feel, and you discerning your feelings to make sure they're not just infatuation or lust, but you're feeling a certain way because you're connecting with a person, like I said, on deeper levels. It's not just fleshly levels. It's not philios love. It is deep. It's, it's that agape, not even love, but I'm saying it's that deep feeling that you have because you're connecting spiritually, intellectually, psychologically, and all these other areas, and are not just dealing with the fleshly stuff. Good word. Thank you so much, sis. Good word. Thank you so much. So anyway, I hope that was so helpful. Gonna come on again. Got to get ready. Got to get up early in the morning. So thanks for joining in, guys. And I look forward to seeing you again in my series on relationships.